I'm pretty sure everyone can agree that Splatoon 3's multiplayer has been quite lackluster since release. I mean, the game's been out since what, 2022? And it's barely received any new content whatsoever. Now that's not super surprising considering Splatoon has been a live service game since its inception, but my main issue is that the drip feed has been so incredibly slow. I for real think I've covered all the content you can get out of Splatoon 3's multiplayer in 3 videos. And don't get me wrong, I love the Splatoon series ever since I bought the first game on this goofy ass console. But there is one thing I've been waiting for since the reveal. Off the hook, obviously. I mean, they don't have any screen time in the base game, other than the 1 or 2 cameo songs. In fact, they haven't had any screen time in anything that isn't a DLC story. But I'm getting off track here. Point being, we've had to wait since Splatoon 2's Final Fest for any new information about these characters, which was held in 2019. That's 5 years of waiting for the small amount of screen time each character gets in these story modes. Honestly, with how similar they structured Octo expansion and Splatoon 3's main story, I was a little worried they'd cheap out and do the same thing again. I mean, Splatoon 3's final level is literally just a copy of Octo expansion's final level. I was pleasantly surprised to say that the opening for this story was insane. For anyone who cares about spoilers, this will be a spoiler-filled review, so here's your warning to click off and play for yourselves. Alright, now that they left, holy! This opening was amazing. I thought I was actually tripping balls when everything started to glitch out while we were on the train. I didn't think Octo expansion would be top tier, and I am at the edge of my seat wondering what in the flying is going on. Now you might be wondering, what could possibly be the story this time, considering in Splatoon 3's base story mode, we fought a literal bear in space. Oh, but y'all not ready, because somehow each story, they are able to raise the stakes even more. First, Splatoon 1 and 2. Oh, you know, it's just some octopuses trying to steal some energy from Inkopolis because, you know, they're in poverty and stuff. Seems fair. 2. I am going to obliterate Inkopolis with the Statue of Liberty because y'all are annoying. 2. I am going to nuke the entire Earth so mammals can roam again. Okay, but seriously, we really did jump from a 0 to 100 on these story modes really quickly. Anyways, we wake up in a completely blank and white Inkopolis square, where we can now pick our Agent 8. A little weird they didn't ask to transfer my saved data from the last game, so you don't have to pick all the options again, but whatever. Once again, Nintendo chooses a very revealing outfit, okay. But being for real, I have no idea how old Octolings are, but I swear I remember hearing the commercial. So I have to assume these Octolings are young. Although Splatoon 2's Octo expansion might have been worse, with only algae covering them up in the character creator and showing massive amounts of skin. What the hell, Nintendo? Now I did go on the wiki to check, and they're actually technically 19 at the start of Splatoon 3. But still, I got weirded out enough that I decided to change myself to a dude so I'd be a little less uncomfortable. It was then I realized they still don't have any good hairstyles for male Octolings! Except for the afro. With no hairstyles to choose from, I just caved and went back to the better Agent 8. Also, their gender doesn't really matter for the outfit, so there's really nothing I can do. Well, with our character created, we can now actually start the story. We then cut to Agent 8 getting woken up by Pearl, except she's now somehow a drone? I don't think they ever explained that one. Marina is also missing, which we find out is at the top floor of the tutorial tower. But here's one of the weirdest twists Nintendo added in. Deadfish, aka Act, the musician who canonically was responsible for the Octo expansion OST, is one of the main characters in this story. Now you might be wondering, did they actually implement this character in any meaningful way other than just looking cool and being the elevator guide? Hell no! Anyway, we stop at the first floor of the tower and wow. I really forgot how unsettling they can make the atmospheres in these games. I mean, like, I've seen some creepy shit in Splatoon games before, like the odd sounds present in the first game's boss rooms. Or the laughing statues and ringing phones in Ink Block Art Academy. or the various instances of Octolink screams throughout Octo expansion. But they just decided to double down on the creepypasta-like environment, and I'm all here for it. They have these toys in glass cases getting transferred around the factory. Eventually, you'll start to see these cases move around the factory and be processed as you climb higher and higher, getting closer to Order himself. It's actually crazy how eerie they made even the hub world look when you just casually walk around. I mean, even the elevator music is just dreadful and depressing. Speaking of which, the soundtrack is phenomenal as always. Splatoon has always nailed down their style and just somehow improves the soundtrack with each game. Especially Splatoon 3 story modes have been an absolute highlight of this. They all just have such wide range, jumping from level to level feels and sounds great. Even cooler is the fact that these songs evolve as you travel up the elevator, which helps these songs never get old. The tracks themselves are just so distinct from each other that you can recognize what missions they represent pretty easily. Like, you can definitely tell this song is an escort mission. Or even better, you can really tell when it's an 8-ball level. But now, we should probably talk about the levels themselves and the actual structure of this DLC. The elevator serves as the way to travel between floors of the tower, obviously. Each floor you climb will be given 3 choices. Each one of these choices will have a different color chip, objective, difficulty, and reward amount. The color chips are either Bust to Agent 8 or Pearl that you will gain at the start of each floor. The higher the difficulty, the more worthwhile the color chip. Sometimes, you may even get double chips if the objective is difficult enough. Each floor of the game is compatible with every objective, so you won't always get the same mission, but usually the same floor with a different objective, like Splat Zones or defeat the speeding enemies. Every few floors, there's also an option to travel to a vending machine, which gives you the ability to spend your mem money, or whatever it's called. This allows you to, example, buy more lives, since if you lose one, it's gone until you buy another one. It also allows you to buy certain color chips from vending machines able to be upgraded outside the tower by Marina. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention this yet, but Marina, when outside the tower, allows you to buy various upgrades called hacks. There are various hacks available, such as lowering all enemy damage, how many armor items you can hold at once, how many lives you can have, etc. I really love the structure they made here. It reminds me a lot of Tartarus from Persona 3 Reload, which also happened to come out recently, which is definitely something to look into if you like JRPGs. But in all seriousness, they did a really good job of differentiating Octo expansion and side order gameplay wise while maintaining the same characters and story beats. It's actually quite an achievement for how little this series likes to innovate for some reason, with very little gameplay changes being added to the multiplayer specifically. My only nitpick with the gameplay itself is the fact that I have to open lockers to obtain more weapons. You need keys to open these lockers, and to obtain these keys, you must reach boss floors. You can get more than one key from a boss, but you have to switch your palette to something else, which can make collecting new palettes in the early game much more difficult. As for the bosses themselves, they're okay. I mean, I enjoyed a lot of them, especially when they didn't sound like nails on a chalkboard as background music. A lot of them are like remixes of old bosses all slammed together to create something new. Marina seems like it's the only unique boss I've encountered, but even then it's very generic since it's a tutorial boss fight. The intensifying harmony is literally just reskinned Octolings and Inklings. The giant tornado spinny thing that looks like GLaDOS is quite literally the dog, Toaster, and the Cube Man put together. The spiny ball is just the ball from Splatoon 1 reskinned to have layers, and they added bumpers. Don't get me wrong, these bosses are fun to fight except for the frickin' asynchronous rondo, but they definitely could have been improved upon a little more and maybe polished. I do like that they at least tried to create unique bosses instead of rehashing the same bosses from the other story mode. As for the final boss, oh look at that, it's just a beefed up version of Marina. Unfortunately, it was pretty easy. I didn't even die once. I mean, I wasn't really expecting something crazy hard like Splatoon 1's final boss or Inner Agent 3, but I was at least expecting something more unique, like how the Octo expansion made you fight the Statue of Liberty. Order is just a reskin of the first boss, but with some more unique attacks. Tartar, in comparison, was a much better villain and boss fight in my opinion. But wait a minute, we died?! the amount of hype I got in this moment. It was the perfect way to end the fight, as imperfect as the boss really was. I would have definitely liked it to be a bit more difficult than the rigorous stages at least. I'll give him a few points for the cheap nostalgia bait though, that was quite an amazing callback. I guess I just expected just as big of a leap in quality as Octo expansion was for the Splatoon series. I personally feel like adding the original story mode, maybe adding a few cutscenes, would have made this pack much more worthwhile than just covering it up. I didn't even get all the main rewards yet, but there really are only 2 key story moments, saving Marina and defeating Order. I really wish there were more interactions like the text logs from Octo expansion. Now, we did sorta get that with the dev logs and the very small amount of character moments Driv fed to us in the elevator, but even then, it's few and far between. I wish Act were more involved other than being just the elevator monitor and participating in the final boss. These characters waited 5 years for almost no screen time compared to the vast amounts of quips and conversations present in Octo expansion. Overall, I give Side Order an 8 out of 10. Very good, but missing a few things that Octo expansion just did better.